Welcome to the Lay Under Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at the NBA on Wednesday here. 9 games to choose from, and I've got a lot down to look at. Nothing yet on the card, but I'm going to be getting those bets down in the next couple hours. So I'm going to take you through about 9 to 10 looks that I've got here on a very big slate for Wednesday. Also want to give you a chance to get into the VIP for a little discount. Had a really, really nice night there on Tuesday, so happy to share all that with you guys. If that all sounds good, give this video a like. Let's get it. Yesterday was interesting because I didn't have the utmost confidence in all the bets that I had, but I knew I needed to at least get some volume out there. So a little bit of a tip, whenever I'm feeling like I don't have a strong grasp of a slate and like a lot of bets that I'm feeling really confident in, then I'll go ahead and play more bets for less money, right? So all of these plays were half a unit as opposed to the normal amount that I would normally play on each bet. I cut that in half, played 11 bets, won 2.2 units. Very happy with the level of with how much we won yesterday based on the level of confidence that I had in a lot of these plays. I just think the lines are getting a lot sharper by this point in the season, and that the books have a lot more information, just like we do, that allows them to make better and more informed bets. At least the sharp books. Obviously, the copycat books like FanDuel and DraftKings are still just copying smarter books, but the smart books have more information and are really basing the market now and setting it at a really, really accurate place. So if you look at the 8 wins we had there, Edey, nice win in a good matchup there. Nobody can play defense down low for Phoenix, so we'll keep taking centers and guys who go to the rim against the Suns. Jaylen Brown in a nice victory. He is at 20.5. And basically, if Jaylen Brown is at 20.5, sometimes 21.5, it's somewhat of an auto play. He's at about 22.5 points per game on the season, and he was playing a very bad defense in Toronto. Then everybody gets ruled out, including Kristaps for Boston, and that helps us get the over there for Brown. And Pritchard liked his stuff anyway. It's a great matchup against Toronto, especially because Boston is playing Detroit today. Much better team than Toronto. So the fact that they had this back-to-back, right, where they're now on the second night of that, they've got some more rested players because they beat up on that team, had Peyton Pritchard come out and play a lot of minutes in this last game, and then they're going to have Drew Holiday and Kristaps come back healthy tonight. So keep an eye on the games that are coming next for the team, in addition to the ones that they just played. Keep that stuff in mind. Devin Vassell, really proud of this bet because I used information that we got from the fact that the coaching staff was saying we need to get Devin Vassell more involved in the offense as a shooter. And they used that info to go, well, 14.5 points. This dude's about a 16 point per game shooter and scorer for his career and this season as well. So with a lower number than his averages, plus the fact that the coaching staff is telling us we should see an increase in his usage rate. Well, we saw that. He got 20 points and got us over. Devin Booker continues to dime up against teams like the Grizz. The Memphis Grizzlies just overpressure the ball and try to force the ball out of point guards' hands. So we take guys like Devin Booker to get theirs. And 7.5 was right on the cusp, but the plus money really helped me make that bet and feel great about it. Desmond Bane, we needed the even money there, and I got to come clean. I should have just been playing the assists, which sounds obvious in hindsight because he had 3 boards and 9 dimes. But really what I'm saying is I shouldn't have added the rebounds. And once again, obviously seems obvious, but the point is he was guarding Kevin Durant, and I knew that. And knowing that he's guarding KD, a guy who's going to take a ton of shots and a ton of shots from farther away, and that Desmond Bane is going to be his primary defender and have to guard KD and contest those shots, that should have led me to go, Desmond Bane's not going to be in position to get rebounds this game. He's going to be defending the guy shooting. And I didn't realize that, but still got away with it because he got so many dimes against the Suns. But Miles Bridges and Jimmy Butler, both in the same game there. Nice unders, as we did not expect Charlotte to hang with the Warriors, who are surging and one of the better defensive teams in the league now as they continue to win with Jimmy buckets on their squad. The 3 losses there. Emmanuel Quickly over 16.5 points. I cannot believe it. It's one of those funny things where it was like, I love IQ to go under on the assists and over on the points. And he flew over on the assists and went well under on the points. It's the matchup dictated that he was going to get more points than assists, but he ended up being the best, the true point guard of the squad, diming up a ton, not getting the points. Jared Allen, he missed his shots. That's all it is. I expected him to take 2 to 3 shots, shooting 75% in the first quarter, hoping that he could make 2 of them. Couldn't do it, but we'll keep going back to him. Over 3.5 Q1 points. It's at us about a 61% hit rate on the season. So we're making money if we just blindly bet him over 3.5 all year. Brolo couldn't hit the threes, but I liked him because he got 6. And that's the last thing I'll say here. Whenever you're taking a 3-point prop, what you need to know is how many threes you project the guy to take, right? And I had Brolo at 6 3 attempts in a good matchup for threes against the Rockets and Şengün as his primary defender, and he went 1 for 6. But I'm very happy, I should say grateful. I'm happy that I hit the projected attempts for Brolo, because if he's better than a 33% 3-point shooter. So if he goes 2 for 6, 33%, right? But he couldn't hit the second one there. So we go 8 and 3 instead of 9 and 2. Still very happy about it. Want to offer you guys a chance to get into into the VIP for a free month. If you do sign up for any of the books that you see scrolling right underneath me here, as well as in the description of the video, they're linked. Go ahead and sign up for any of those and use code LYB, and then go ahead and send me a screenshot just showing me some proof that you signed up using that code, and I'll go ahead and get you a free month of access to the VIP to go ahead and make sure you're not missing any of the bets that we've got there. You can hit me up on @JLBoogie on Twitter or Discord, and I'll go ahead and hook you up with all that stuff. But do want to say too, what we're doing out there, there's a lot more going down in the VIP than just the picks. While we are winning 56 units on the season now, and you also have access to the guest cappers, a lot of smart people keeping their records and transparency throughout so that you guys know how they're doing in different sports. And then we also get those one-on-one sports betting consultations. And that's really what I'm most proud of, is the ability to have people meet with me once or twice a month and get some help here to make sure they're exhibiting good habits on sports betting and understanding this gamut here to kind of trim some of those bad habits as well. But let's go ahead and jump into everything that I have here for Wednesday's slate in the NBA. As always, going to be using Props Madness, the #1 tool for sports betting research here in the NBA and the WNBA when we get to the ladies in the summertime. This, if you do want to sign up using this tool, saves you a ton of time. It's a one-stop shop for pretty much everything you need, matchup-wise and otherwise, to compare odds. I would say go ahead and use code LYB. That'll get you a 7-day free trial, or it'll also just get you 25% off your first month if you're interested in jumping in. Happy to answer any questions about the platform there in the comments as well. First game on the slate is Wizards and Blazers, and the two looks that I have for this one are both on the Blazers, as I expect them to dominate this game. We've got to start with Denny. Somewhat of a revenge narrative, but not really. It's more just the fact that Denny is diming up and he's boarding up a ton. Last game, we got this at 10.5 on the rebounds and assists. I still think it's too low. So I'm going to be going over on Denny Avdia rebound and assists here. If we can get 10.5, great. 11.5, I'm still fine with it against this team. You can see against the Jazz, similarly horrible defense to the Wizards here. In 36 minutes, Denny had 20 rebound chances and 15 potential assists, ended with a 14 and 5. And he could have had more assists, like 15 potential assists to get 5 is horrible. Normally, you would see him at about 7 to 8 assists off of 15 potentials, at least, if not like 8 or 9. So I think he's still going to be good for the assists. We're getting plenty of value on 4.5. The thing here is going to be we're playing without DeAndre Ayton. We're playing without Robert Williams as well. And when he's played without both those guys, the numbers don't show as much per game. But on the season, right? First of all, 10.9 without them. So yes, it's a little bit of a high number at 11.5. But if you look at his numbers on the court this season, when he does not have either Rob Will or who am I talking about? DeAndre Ayton, dominating on the court, then Avdia is at about 16 rebounds and assists per 36 minutes. So just what he's done on the floor this season with those guys off, and neither of them will be playing in this game in terms of Rob Will or DeAndre Ayton. Love Denny Avdia to go over on the boards and the dimes, where you get a ton of value on the 4.5 assists for him. I hate to take the same prop for two guys, but there's going to be points in this game for Portland against the worst, one of, if not the worst defense in the league in Washington. And Toumani Camara's rebounds and assists are still giving us a ton of value. The rebounds alone, good bet. 6.5. We've seen him without these two guys average about 8.5 boards per 36 minutes. These two guys being Ayton and Williams, right? I keep talking about the two starting centers for this team. DeAndre Ayton's the starter. Rob Will's the backup. Both of them out. So we will see Donovan Clingan out there, but he's not playing nearly as many minutes. And that has led Toumani Camara to rebound a ton. And it's not just DeAndre Ayton being out that helps us. It's actually Jeremy Grant being in. And this is one of those bets that I love to find, because the logic would tell you if Jeremy Grant is playing more minutes with Toumani, that Toumani's going to get fewer boards, maybe fewer assists, fewer everything, because Jeremy Grant and him do so many things similarly, right? They're similar sized guys. They play similarly, at least on offense. They're expected to do similar things. Jeremy Grant more of a shooter, but they are like middling wings, right? Tall, big, athletic wings. But for whatever reason, and I have the reason, Toumani Camara gets more rebounds with Jeremy Grant out there than without him. And the reason is that Jeremy Grant is allergic to the paint. He's about 6'10", point guard in his mind. He doesn't go into the lane. He doesn't do much in terms of rebounding. He's at about 3 boards per game. And Toumani has upped his boards because he plays closer to the basket when he's out there with Jeremy Grant, who's doing a lot more of the wing defense and the sort of wing shooting, right? And Toumani is expected to drive and crash the boards on offense. So the rebounds are great. And the reason I like adding the rebounds to the assists and getting this at 8.5 is because his potential assists have gone way, way up, basically since like February started. So in the month of February, he hasn't not had less than 5 potential assists in each of these games since then. And honestly, really since January, he's been at least about 4 to 5 potential assists per game. And you're still getting him at about 1.5, 2.5 assists as his line here. So I'm going to love the rebounds. I already like the rebounds, and I think we're getting great value on the dimes. I don't want to take the dimes by themselves because if he does not get those, then I think we're going to get saved by the rebounds, and vice versa to a degree. But most importantly, he's doing both of these things a ton because he's expected to do a lot more of that dirty work when he's got Jeremy Grant out there. So I like rebounds and assists for him, and I like it for his teammate, Denny Avdia, tonight. Don't have enough information on Celtics and Pistons, so going to wait on that one for the live show, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Want to make sure you guys remember, we are going live every day. You guys bring your bets and jump in the comments, and I go ahead and help you audit those bets, right? Review them together and see if we can't find some of that value. So hope to see you guys there. But that's where we'll be talking a lot more about Celtics and Pistons and Raptors and Pacers. The game that I do have at least some looks for you here is going to be in this Knicks and 76ers game, and we don't quite have all the info we need because Cat is questionable. I don't think Cat's going to play. If you saw Cat go down in the last game and then still get played in the fourth quarter of a blowout in February where Tibbs, lock him up. Tibbs needs to be freaking arrested for what he did to Karl Towns in this last game, not to mention the rest of the guys. But I don't know how you play Cat on that knee in this game against the 76ers team that's not going to have Joel Embiid. They're also not going to have Yabusele. Quentin Grimes is probably going to play in this game because he's probable, even though he was injured last one. But keep that in mind. Cat questionable. But I'm going over to the looks here, starting on the Knicks. I do think we can take some Josh Hart rebounds. It's 10.5. This is only going to keep going up. I'm not going to be shocked if this gets to 11.5. So if you want to make sure you get the value on Josh Hart boards, get the 10.5. If Cat is ruled in, this will stay at about 10.5, maybe 9.5. But I think we can bank on 10.5 being a fair line with or without Karl Towns today for Josh Hart. One thing to keep in mind when you look at him playing against his team, yes, he's had really good stats here against Philly, 26 rebound chances in 49 minutes in the overtime win for the Knicks in January. And then the other game in November, 21 rebound chances in 37 minutes, 12 rebounds. And I think you can continue to expect that for him. You look at him last season against this team. Yes, in the playoffs, he did really well. In the regular season, he absolutely crushed them. He just gets boards, right? 13 boards per game for him since last season against this team. And that's only gone up this year where he's at 14.5. So it's a great matchup. Now, in part because when Joel Embiid is on the floor, wings like Josh Hart are the better rebounders to take than, say, the center going up against Joel Embiid. So it does make sense that he's done that with Embiid out there. And you might be worried that without Embiid, he's not as likely to get the boards. But Karl Towns is hurt. There's no way you can play him that much. And Josh Hart this season without Karl Towns is looking at about 11.5 rebounds per 36 minutes. And he's playing like 40 minutes, right? He's up to like 38 minutes per game when he plays without Cat. So I really like Josh Hart in this one for the boards. You can see the types of guys rebounding against the 76ers. If you just scroll down here on Props Madness, you see the comparative guys and how they've done recently against the 76ers and their boards. Obviously, Josh Giddey, who we hit, had the 16, Tatum, Barnes, Amen, Osar. All of these guys are the similar types of players to Josh Hart in terms of their rebounding. So we got to go back to him in a very, very good situation against the 76ers. Funny enough, right now, the only guy I trust on Philly is Tsunami Papi, also known as Kelly Oubre Jr. And so I'm going back to his points and rebounds. We're actually getting a better number than we had last game against the Bulls. And I mean, yeah, the Bulls are a worse defense, so it makes sense. But 22.5 or potentially 21.5, I think that's going to be widely available at 21.5 for the PR for Kelly Oubre. He's averaging about 26 PR per 36 minutes when he plays without Joel Embiid, without Yabusele on the floor, as well as a couple other guys that are going to be missing, like Kyle Lowry, Eric Gordon, a couple of those guys. But most importantly, without Yabu, who's out, and without Embiid, who's out, this man's at about 8.5 boards per 36, and he's at about 21 points per 36. So he's actually about 28, 29 PR per 36 minutes. And you can see he's playing anywhere from 30 to 36 if this game is at all close. And the Knicks have been so bad on defense, by the way, the worst defensive rating in the league in their last 10 games for the Knicks. I think there's a lot of opportunities for guys like Kelly. I think Quentin Grimes. I think they're all going to eat, and this isn't going to be as big of a blowout as this Bulls blowout that they just had, as the Knicks are getting blown out themselves, and I just don't think they're in any position right now with the injuries and with the lack of rest for them to feel like they should be blowing anybody out. I think Kelly's going to be out there for a good 36, 37 minutes, and he should be projected for about 25.5 points and rebounds in this game. As we move on to the next game, go ahead and give this video a like if you're getting anything out of it. And definitely go ahead and make sure to subscribe to that page so that you don't miss any of the live shows that we come out with or any of these episodes to help you guys get ahead of those bets. And now let's move past this Thunder Nets game. I don't trust this game. I think this has got blowout written all over it. I don't know why you would think otherwise for this Thunder team that would like to get an easy win under their belt. Nets have been better than you might think, But this is going to be a game I don't think the Thunder even want to play with their food. They just kind of go at it and take care of business. I am so tired of betting on the Miami Heat that I'm moving past this Hawks and Heat game as well. I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat do try to come out and get a little revenge, but the Hawks have looked better than them, and I don't trust the Heat at all. So I'm going over to Clippers and Bulls, where we know that Norm Powell is out for the Clips, and for the Bulls, we know that Io is going to be questionable, and it looks like Vooch is not going to play. He's doubtful. Now, everybody's going to want to go right back to Josh Giddey, who in his last bunch of games has not only had the points, he's had the rebounds, and he's had the assists. His PRA in the last roughly 3 games, averaging about 45 per game, as you can see here, against defenses that I don't trust. And I do trust the Clippers, even without Norm Powell. This is still a very, very, very good defense. And you're going to just see more Chris Dunn, right? Plus, you're going to have Zubac out there without anybody to really challenge him because he's got Zach Collins on him. Zubac probably going to have another 15, 16 rebound game. So I'm a little bit nervous to take anything Josh Giddey in a much better defensive team, a matchup against a much better defense than these 3 doo-doo defenses that he's played here, like the Knicks, the Suns, and the 76ers. So I'm not going anywhere with the Bulls this game. I just don't trust anybody on their team. I think the 2 plays that I like from this one are James Harden on the dimes. This is probably going to get up to 10.5. It's still actually plus money on DraftKings, but I don't know now how people don't hit the over on this. Granted, if you look at the last game for him, he's only at 10 assists on 11, only 11 potential assists on to get 10, I should say, against the Bulls. That was in 36 minutes, and they lost by 13. Bad loss there without Zubac, without Kawhi Leonard. Got both those guys in this game. And if you look at Harden on the season, when he plays with Kawhi Leonard, we put Kawhi on the floor and we see he goes up to 10.7 boards per game in the 16 games that he's now played with Kawhi Leonard. And when he's on the floor with Kawhi this season, he's at about 12.9 assists per 36 minutes. Don't have any reason to think he's going to play less than 36. He plays at least 35 in damn near every game that isn't a massive blowout. So love this against a team that's giving up the most assists to point guards on the season for the Bulls. Don't see any reason for James to go too far out. Maybe some above the break threes as well, but I think threes and assists are going to be the play here for James Harden. The other guy I'm looking at, and I've been preaching from the sort of the gospel of Chris Dunn here for a while. And if you look at Chris Dunn, yes, he hasn't had good numbers with Kawhi, but really the rebounds and the assists, if you can get these at 7.5, I think that's a complete steal. This dude, if you give him, let's see, it's mostly about the minutes, right? And if you give Chris Dunn, and I got my notes here, I want to make sure I get the right minutes. So he's playing 26 minutes a game without Norm Powell. Right. So let me take Norm out for a minute and look at those games that he's played without Norm. He's at about 7.3 rebounds and assists without Norm. And I totally get that. But you've got to give him the minutes. When he plays 28 minutes or so, or at least even 25 plus minutes, that gets up to 8.7. Even if you have Norm out there and you give him 25 to 38 minutes, up to 8.8 rebounds and assists per game in this situation, I think he's good for about 30 in this one, 28 at least. If you give him 28 minutes, he's at 10.4 rebounds, assists. I don't think it matters if Norm is out there. He's going to keep going to the boards and getting rebounds, and he's going to keep diming up because he's been a good point guard. I mean, he's had about 7 to 8 potential assists per game in these games where he's playing 28 to 30 minutes, and he's also had about, and the rebound chances have been at about 12. I lied to you. 9.5 rebound chances as well. But like 9.5 rebound chances to get, let's say, 4 rebounds, right? Like about 8 potential assists to get 4 assists. Looking at about 8, I have him projected for about 8.9 rebounds and assists in 28 minutes. He could get a bump in a couple more minutes. Plus, you get a little bit of a bump playing against a horrible team limiting assists and rebounds like the Chicago Bulls. Last couple looks from the Kings and the Jazz game. And what I'm looking at here, starting with Isaiah Collier, I do think we can go back to his assists. I know it's a little bit scary after he only had 4. And the scary thing about his dimes is that he's playing once again without Lauri Markkanen, without John Collins, without Colin Sexton, and Walker Kessler is questionable. So it does seem like it's a little bit scarier to take assists for a guy when he doesn't have the same quality of players alongside him, right? Like a lot of these games where he's diming up, he's playing with everybody, or at least some people, like Lowry being out there, guys that you can trust to shoot. Plus, if Jordan Clarkson is out there with him, he's just a shot chucker. So look, like I'm going to play Isaiah Collier because it's Isaiah Collier and I love him so much. And he's playing against a Kings team that is giving up like the 8th most assists per game. They're giving up the 8th most to point guards as well. They're not a good defense limiting assists because they overpressure the ball. So it's a good matchup. The thing's taking away from the ability to bet on him, and I haven't hit any of these bets yet, so I don't know that I'm going. Isaiah Collier will be talked about on the live show today. I should say that. The things that are scaring me are playing without all of his normal guys and who's going to make shots. The things that I like about it are he's playing against a team that gives up a lot of assists to point guard. So we'll come back to him and see if Walker Kessler's out there. That would be huge as well, I'll just say. But the bet that I do like, and I think I will be playing here, is going to be the assists for Malik Monk. Would love to see if we can get this at 5.5 to a slightly better number. But for him going up in this matchup here, like against the Jazz, they just give up a ton of assists. They're 28th limiting assists, and Malik Monk has been the guy leading this team in potential assists. If you look at like the last 8 games or so since he's had everybody that's playing with him, he's at the 6.1 assists, but everything has started to come up a little bit over the course of these last like 5 games, right? Things were a little bit weird against 2 really good defenses in the Magic and the Blazers in these first 2, and then he didn't play as many minutes. They got blown out. Then in these games where they're not getting blown out and they've got Levine and DeMar and Sabonis out there with him, he's leading the team in touches by far, followed by Sabonis, and they're still relying on the sort of familiarity between Malik Monk and Sabonis to run the offense. So I think he's going to continue to be the main assist guy and the clear-cut point guard. This is a good matchup for assists against an awful Utah Jazz defense. That is all the time we have for you. So hope to see you guys 5:30 p.m. Eastern on the live show. I'm going to finalize this card and get that stuff down for the VIP, which don't forget, if you do want that free month, send me a screenshot after you sign up for any of these books using code LYB. A lot in there that you probably don't have yet. So looking forward to see you guys in a little bit today. And until I do, happy betting.